Alright, everyone, this will be a quick rundown of the stuff that I look for in new fighting games, especially new NetherRealm games. I think if anyone is looking to get into Mortal Kombat 11, I think there is some stuff that you guys should know or should be looking for. And again, this is coming from what I think is important. If you have any differing opinions, please leave them in the comments and let me know what you think. If you think that there's something wrong with this video, please let me know. If you don't like anything I've got to say, alright, fine, just tell me. Or if you are one of those people who so much requested Frost and is not playing Frost, just comment on why you're not playing Frost, because I already know why you aren't playing Frost. And it's not because, you know, I think Frost is a mediocre character with a mediocre backstory. I actually think she's worse than that. I think she's an awful character with a terrible backstory and awful, horrible personality traits that make that character as low as I can put them on the list of returning characters for the next Mortal Kombat title, if we get so lucky. Anyways, have a sip of water before we kick things off. Always remember to stay hydrated. With that said, let's get into this. So, some of the things I think newer players should look for in Mortal Kombat 11. You want to look for a character that is going to give you some good reach, some good range. You want that. And then, on top of good range, you want a character that's going to have moves like this up close. The reason you want stuff like this up close, if I can do it again, the reason you want that is because, as I'm sure you've heard, it's kind of hard to play fighting games and, you know, be on the YouTube for looking at fighting games and stuff like that without hearing about the stuff that goes on in Mortal Kombat, kind of how the game is played. And it's kind of hard to not know that this is something that you'll see a lot if you just want to play online. You'll see a lot of this. Let me set his health to 100 so we can get a better look at things here. Right, you'll see a lot of this going on, a lot of this. And people complain about, well, you know, there's no way to stop that. How do we stop that kind of mash? And that's how you stop it. Moves like this. Moves like that will stop it. After you hit someone with a down 1, that stops it. Right? Because when you hit someone with a down 1, plus 11. All the way up close, plus 11. See that? Which means that this knee after this 4-4 is guaranteed. If you hit them with this down 1 and they try to mash back, they get hit by this forward 4. Because once they get hit, it's no longer their turn. My turn has started. If you disrespect that, I will drop my combo, and you will be very intimidated. I hopefully won't spend 2 bars on it, but generally speaking, that's how things work out. Alright, so you want to look for this, not that. Well, this too. You want a good, long-reaching, low poke. You want one of these. The reason being, if you happen to duck under something up close, right, and if you happen to duck under something close and you need a quick response, you get one of those. Of course, there's still the tried and true option, duck under a high, boom! But I'm saying if you're from right here, where your down 2's not going to reach, if you're all the way out here, you're not hitting the down 2. You will hit one of those. If you hit this, they gotta take that back one after. Right. They try to come in with any other weird stuff. Like they try to come in, they get hit with a, like, let me see, like, let's say they get hit with a down 4, and Raiden tries to come in with that back 1. Alright? Didn't I just tell you that you have to respect that? Not listening. So we get a combo. Of course, there's still a tried and true big uppercut there. Big homie down 2. Generally speaking, we hit a down 4. Raiden comes with that back 1-2 nonsense again. And then, hang on. You know, the down 4 comes with that back 1-2 nonsense again. And then put that hook sword right in his mouth. And then we get a combo. So on and so forth. Anyways. So now, we're looking at, we know this is good, and this is good, this is good, and after a down 1 hits, that's good. And we know that once this hits, we get one of those. And we know that this is safe on block. From range, this is -2. And up close, that's -3. See that? Just like from range, that's -1. And up close, it's -2. Alright, that's good. It's like, up close, that's -4. From range, if I can space it just right, I'm gonna do it just right. I think you can cut it down 1 to -3. Nope, it stays at -4. But -4 is still good. -4 means we're safe, and unless you're in the second variation of this particular character, you do not have anything to punish me. Because -4 means, well, my turn might be over, but I don't have to take any damage after losing my turn. Same with this. My turn might be over, but I'm able to block after and defend right away. I don't have to take any damage. Same with this. -2. My turn might be over, but I don't have to take any damage. And then you have strings like this, where you can use the string because of the implied mix-up of, oh, there's an overhead. You can mix that overhead in with a throw and be like, there's my mix-up. Nice and easy. So now, people are like, is he going to do the overhead? Is he going to do a throw? Does he have a low option available? I don't know. So I have to take that. And you can use that string, being that safe, you can use that to your advantage in a method of offense that you commonly hear when referencing the Mortal Kombat community or the NRS community and how their games work, called staggering. You stagger your offense. Right? The thing about Cabal is, however, that even though he has an overhead off of this, and worried about overhead in a throw mix, overhead or throw mix, he still has a low option. And if you happen to be blocking high in anticipation for that overhead, he gets a crushing blow for 27 points. So there's also that. And I think the string itself added on, if you block the first 2 hits, is an extra 1%, so it's 28% that you gotta take. It's not too good. That is a full B&B. That is actually, if I can do it. There we go. That is actually the damage you're taking from that. So, And then it gets worse. So we have this, that's an overhead and then overhead. So right, same thing. He's gonna do just the back one into a throw. He's gonna do back one overhead. He's gonna do a whole string. You'll have to block the whole thing. Can I like maybe try and poke afterwards? Can I do this? Can I do that? And then as you're getting ready to stand block this, there's a low again. Right? It's ridiculous. Let me get a sip of water here. Good. So, let's recap. What do we like about Cabal? Well, we got these real big buttons here. Alright? We like that if we see a low poke, we see a down one, like we hear about down ones. Well, if we hit someone with ours, they have to take that forward 4, which means if they mash back, we get a combo. Right? We also like the idea of our down 4. You know, if we hit with a down 4, we get a down 1, we get a back 1 check, which is good. I like that. It's really nice because now we have a way of telling people, hey, if you try to press again, you will get clipped. And as we saw, if they do get clipped, if they don't listen, well, they take damage. Big, huge damage. And we don't even have to use the crushing blow. That's the other thing. But that will come more as time goes on. The more you play the game, the more you'll start to understand when to use crushing blows and when not to use crushing blows. But now that we've got a recap so far of what we have talked about, let's kind of go in and figure out when good times to use crushing blows are and when bad times to use crushing blows are. The first thing about that is it depends on what your crushing blow is. So, for example, this is our launching crushing blow. Right? We have 2 of these. Right? We have this one that comes off of a counter hit or a punish, and this one that comes after a counter hit or a punish. And that's not just the meter burn one, we also have the regular one. And they both launch. But this crushing blow counts only at this crushing blow, whether or not you amplify it or not. That is the only version of the crushing blow you get. You only get that one. Hook Slam has 1 crushing blow and is only on the move itself. It's only on the slam. Meaning you can meter burn it, you can do it regularly. I have even crushing blows on. But that's the only one you get. Versus this one, you only get 1. This comes after a punish or counter hit. Same with this. Punish or counter hit, right? Same with this one, punishing the high. Now that we know what those are, now that we have learned what those are, we should talk about when those should be used. So, for example, in this scenario, say we're getting worked, right, by Raiden. Raiden's giving it to us, and we're at 30%. Well, we know that our Fatal Blow is designed to do a lot of damage. By itself, it does 32%. With Cabal, I think it is 32%. If we match all the timings, it does more damage. But if we see that Raiden does not have his defensive bars, right? Let me see if I can get him to come off of those. Alright, so we see he doesn't have those. So, if I can, so since he's off of those, we can now go for a crushing blow here in full confidence, because now he doesn't have a way to get out of this combo. Which means we can spend our bar for the crushing blow combo Fatal Blow combo. Alright, and cash out all this damage to where now we're in comeback range. And now all of a sudden, it's not so unfair. It's more of a fair fight now, which makes our mix-ups like this a lot scarier, and it makes our mix-ups like this a lot scarier when he's in that range. However, let's say Raiden has both of those bars. Oh, we can't do it now because he broke out. You want to use your crushing blows like this, and your launching crushing blows. You want to use those when they have 1 or less bars of defensive meter. Otherwise, they'll just break out. Now there is the one caveat to this, where if you know they're going to break out, you can uppercut to get some damage. Right? Or if you know they're going to break out, if you're fast enough. Let me see here. You can use your Fatal Blow to punish their breakout. Alright? And that's good. But again, that's going to be something that you're going to be having to put a lot more personal knowledge into. You're going to have to figure out how this person works, how they play, and all that stuff. And it'll take a lot of situational awareness from you. But still, knowing when to use your crushing blows and when not to use them is good. Prime example. Let's say we need to make that comeback, and we've already spent this crushing blow because he broke out. Well, now we need something else. So we know that we have a crushing blow off of this string and a crushing blow off of this. Alright? So, for example, I think this is going to be the best example I can give you. Here we are in the corner. Raiden's trapped. You know he can't go anywhere. Well, we know that's not true. He has a teleport, but let's suspend our beliefs for a second. He can't go anywhere, right? We're in his face. He can't go anywhere. So now we're throwing all these buttons at him. We're staggering the offense, and then we're like, okay, we're not getting anywhere. He's starting to block all this stuff, right? So I'm gonna block. He's starting to block all this. Now we throw in our mix. We don't spin the crushing blow right away. Alright? And he was like, oh crap, he has a freaking low he can do that? Okay, well let me block that. Boom, overhead. I'm gonna wear this head. And then, as we're working him down, we can start to make, our big judgments on whether or not he's gonna be able to take all this offense. We can still score big hits here. Alright? We can still score real big hits. But our big hits are going to come a lot slower. Versus, if you want those big hits, you can have them. Alright? You can have your big hits. But, it'll come at a real big cost of using 2 crushing blows. 16 and 27. You've done big damage. You have done a lot of damage. Alright, that is nothing to sneeze at. That is almost half of his health gone. But, think about how much more health could have been gone. Right? If we mix him up effectively, or we happen to catch him on counter hit, we get the whole string. Right? Now we still have 1 crushing blow left for this type of scenario, and we know our back 1-2, the second hit of that, is just 1 frame slower than the initial attack. So now, fit this in there on block, fit this in as he's blocking that, because it's a mid. And now, we've done more damage to add on to that. So, to recap, that's 21 points. That's 27. Look how much closer he is to half health now. That's what's important there. Knowing when to use your crushing blows and when to hold on to them. Especially if you're playing Cabal in this variation, you want to hold on to those 2 crushing blows like crazy. Because those are going to allow you to mix the opponent up. Because they're worried about getting hit by this crushing blow and this crushing blow. They're worried about that, so they're still trying to guess, you know, up, down, left, right, you know, R1, R2, all that other stuff. They're trying to guess all that. Right, you're just like, I think I'm going to go low. I think I'm going to go low because I counter hit him, just to kind of push him to the corner. Or, I counter hit him, I'm going to spend it right now to take a big lead in the round. Right? That's the important stuff. So, know when to use your crushing blows, know when not to use them. Just as a rule of thumb, down 2 crushing blow. If you use that by accident, or if you duck under something, and you punish for the down 2, and you get the crushing blow, as a precaution, you can... As a precaution, normally, this is just something I like to do. I normally will just go for the down 2 right after anyways. Just in case they want to break out. Because that's 30 points. And if they don't break out, if I see they don't, that's no problem. Or if I see they don't have the meter for it, I can go ahead and do my damage. But if they have the meter for breakout, I just walk up and do an uppercut. It's safe damage, and even if they don't, that's 30 points on the board. It's good. And you can do that for all your launch and crushing blows. If you know, manage to do it right. See, it's 30. And I think this one should be just around that range to fight. 27. So, you know, if you use your crushing blows and they launch and they have meter and you see them break away, or if you feel like they're gonna break away and you see they have both bars, doing a down 2 does not hurt. It is still good damage, and if they happen to break away, well, you still manage to do more damage than trying to do the regular combo and having to fight through the breakaway armor. Alright, last thing before we go, we should talk about our fatal blow and how our fatal blow should be used and what we should use it for. Before we talk about just punishing a couple of things, like, actually that's really good. We're going to talk about punishing fatal blows, actually. That's more important than knowing when to use our fatal blow, is knowing how to punish other fatal blows. So, first thing you want to look at is how a fatal blow makes you react on block. So that minus 35, but all that pushback, alright? You can't use a fatal blow to punish that. You have to use like a special move, or you have to try and dash up and use a move that's got a lot of reach, like Cabal versus Cabal. He can probably dash and do a back 1 to punish that. Let me get a sip of water here before we... Alright. And in Raiden's case, alright, man is minus 22 on block. Let me see if I can do this in a better way. See that? Minus 22 on block. So we get a dash. I thought we had a dash. get a hook? Nope, we don't get hooks. Oh, but we get this. Pretty quick. Which is nice, because that means... boom! Big damage. And we get our own Fatal Blow combo. Oops. It's a mid too, so be careful. A lot of crushing blows you'll see are mid. So I'm just gonna make sure he doesn't clobber me right away at the start here. Alright. So a lot of crushing blows are mid, which is good, because you can use your crushing blow if you feel like they're gonna mash after a down one and you want to be a real big gamer. You can down one in a fatal blow. I'm not saying you ever should, because that is such an unsafe thing to do, but it is an option you have, right? Especially against someone like Kabal, who we have just seen can punish fatal blows with a dash up back one. Alright, so when's the best time to use your fatal blow? I think, of course, a good time as any to use a fatal blow is if you're making a comeback. Like, let's say we get this as our exchange to start our comeback. We get a restand, and then we get a throw. So now we're in a situation where we know if we hit him with a fatal blow, he's going to be in deep trouble. But we still have to get him to that range. As Kabal, you know that your hook slam is going to do 22 of that damage to get your fatal blow combo started. Right? And then after that, all it takes is a button to land a spin and then circle into fatal blow. We know that. So, at this time, if we see that he does not have his defensive meter, we can do a combo like this. Button into fatal blow, and look at the damage. Effectively, we stole that round. If that were a round, if that was our round to win the set, or if that was the way we were gonna win that game or stay in the game, right? If we were down one round and we're about to die, we just stole the round back from him. With one combo, we stole the round back. Now we don't have fatal blow again, right? As you can see, I'm mashing it, and you know, no fatal blows coming out here. Fatal blow's gone. But at the cost of fatal blow, we've got a round, or we took a game, or we just won the set. In the best case scenario, we just won tournament, right? This is like, we got an exchange here, right? Big damage, and then he guessed wrong on the throw last round, and now here we are once again. And then it becomes trivial. We just won our first tournament, we won our local, whatever tournament we went to, we just won with a big, nice 6-0 damage on it. Look at that. Beautiful. Absolutely wonderful. We just won our first tournament, or we just won the set, or we just took a round so we could stay in the game a little longer. Right? And hopefully we'll use that momentum to win the game. Alright? So, just to recap before we end here. So, look at your throws. Look at your character's long reaching buttons. Look at how your character, look where your character's buttons are, look where he's gonna be good at. Right? We can tell Kabal is gonna be good from the round starts the round start position. Let me see if I can put that right back here. From this range, Cabal is really good, right? Look at your tools. They're going to be really nice to use after you hit a down 1. Your 9-frame mids, they have to respect that. You hit a down 1 up here, gotta respect it. You hit a down 3 up here, that's plus 12 on hit. Get a forward 4 after. Look at that. You gotta take that. You hit the down 4, back 1. Alright? Look at your ranges, because your ranges are gonna tell you where your character wants to play from. Right? If you're playing out here, they're dealing with this, and if you see them coming in with something hot, stuff a buzzsaw in your face. Alright? Because that buzzsaw, that crushing blow triggers on counter hit. If I can get it here. It's not one that I usually get, so it's a little weird. There we go. And the other thing we want to look at our crushing blows, because our crushing blows can influence how we attack something or how we look at something. Is that big hourglass in the back moving or no? Am I stoned? I think I'm stoned. No, it's moving. I'm not stoned. So, the example that we had for our crushing blows influencing our playstyle is our low hook. Use that as a mix because remember, back 1, nice mid, has an overhead follow-up, it's just as fast. It's actually 1 frame slower than the initial attack, but we can use low hook in place of that, right? And if they block high, they get hit by low hook, boom, 27 points. We counter hit with this, 21 points, right? And we're going to be using this to catch people who are going to be pressing buttons up close. So, hit with one of those. Look at this. We hit with this, down 3. Our forward 2 is 12 frames. If we're perfect, and they if we're perfect and they mash buttons after that, big counter hit. You gotta take that. And if they're coming in hot from range, they're mashing buttons, they're coming in with a string, we get back 1, 2, down 2. When we block something, we punish with that, we get our launcher. We punish with this, and amplify it, we get an even bigger launcher. Which gives us a nice juicy combo. And if we want, because this is the variation for it, we get a nice restand and we'll throw. And as I showed you before, if we launch them and we take our restand, we get a throw. And if they've messed up the throw before, like we messed up, they messed up the tag, then they just take another 30 points on top of that. And that's 70% of their health gone. Just because. Alright. So, that's just about everything. Oh, I forgot. Know when to use your crushing blows. You know, if they have both their defensive bars, there's no problems. There's nothing wrong with doing 2 down 2s to secure all your damage. Same with this. There's nothing wrong with just doing a down 2 just to make sure that if they have both their bars and meter, if they want to break out, we get some damage, right? Using our fatal blow, we don't want to use our fatal blow, you know, just off of a whim, like we know they're mashing, so we'll do fatal blow, down 1 and fatal blow. We don't want to do things like that because that's never good, right? It's real easy to see. You can react to the flash of that and be like, alright, he just blew his old fatal blow here, well, let me just kill this guy, right? In situations like this, where we're down 30 versus 100, if they don't have any bar, we already know how it works out. I'm gonna dash up, down 1, 2, 3, spin, 4, fatal blow. And then we'll get our real big damage coming from there. Even without amplification, even without the amplifier, that does a lot of damage. I went from 60 to, instead of it being 60, it goes from 60 to 61. Potentially 62 if you hit every one of them perfect. But, man, that's rough. Alright. And I think the last thing that we want to be aware of is we want to look at, in this case, it's not so much looking at how we interact with the environmentals in the background, because generally speaking in Mortal Kombat 11 all characters use them the same. Some have secret interactions, like if you hold down on some, maybe you'll get an attack instead of, you know, a jump. But other than that, environmentals, we understand how that works. Alright? So with that being said, I think that just about covers it. If you want, I think actually what I will do before I go is show you guys one of the broken variations I set up. And I call it broken because this is absurd what they allow this man to have. It's called the Nick of Time. I'm gonna call it Nick of Time because he's got these two hook swords. Gotta find some way to talk about how he cuts things and all of these, except the last one. But this variation has something the first one has, which is the dash cancel. Dash cancel is neat because in this variation, if we do, we have low hook now to do our big damage here. So now we can use this to fish for that low hook at the end on their block, because if they're blocking any of this, we're +1. Neutral on block, 0 on block, which means that it goes back to it being nobody's turn, or it's everybody's turn. If I can do it right, +1. Alright. What's another string that we'll use? What is one more string that we'll use? Or what is one more thing we'll use? 4, I forgot. +1. +1. +8. That move is normally +6. And it's +6 because it's such a big move. You'll see often that real big moves like this and Scorpion's front flip kick are normally safe on block because they're such big moves. What else? Our standing 4. 4 on block normally. +3 on block after the dash cancel. But that's not what we like it for. We like it because it's still technically our turn after. And because we're doing this, throwing a mid out, right? Now they have to be like, okay, well, they're +1. Can I mash? I'm gonna try and mash after this cancel. And because back 1's a mid, and because we're back here doing this, they get hit. Which means, if they get hit, we get this. Or, if they're starting to block this a lot, if they're starting to block this, and you're tired of them blocking that, now, we can spend our bars. We're spending a defensive bar for each of these. Alright? But we can use that cancel to fit in another one of these, another sequence. Alright? You can get nice and crazy with it. Let me see here. how wild is this variation really? Is this also... Oh yeah, it's also got that. Alright, so this other move here, this other custom move is anti-air grab. And it's really good for this particular reason. If I can do it here. If I can do it, come on. One time for me. One of these, and then this. Look at all the damage we get now. So now, we can take all our mix-ups, right? We have all these mix-ups we have. All this pressure, down one checks, 4-4. All that, we can use it now to get more damage than we normally would. And it's beautiful because it takes what we normally had in variation 1, the dash cancel, but nothing really to use that dash cancel with to enforce this cancel we have, these plus frames that we have, or the advantage that we have afterwards. Right? Pseudo advantage because in some cases we're neutral on block. But now we have something that not only gives us a way to utilize these frames that we have now in low hook and all these really good buttons we have with the dash cancel now, because we can use our forward 4 to cancel another, we can use our forward 4 on block to make it safer. We can use back 1-2 on block to make that safer. Forward 2-2 on block with a cancel and make that safer. Right? We can use that stuff now to set up a second cycle where you thought you guessed right before, guess again. This time you thought, okay, he's definitely gonna go overhead this time, so I have to stand up. Oh wait, he just did a cancel, now I have to guess again. And maybe, okay, maybe he's gonna go for an overhead again, and then you get hit by a low. Alright? And that's the cool thing about it, because this is not a fuzzyable situation. You have to make a read. This is not a fuzzyable situation, and a fuzzy means while you're blocking, you're tapping down, right? The reason you'd be tapping down is because of something like low hook, right? Where they do something on block and you know there's a low coming, but you know that there might be something else coming after the low, or you want to block the low because they're going to do a second one after, or they're going to have an overhead coming. You're going to be fuzzying like this. You're going to be tapping like that. Right? Well, the reason you do that is to try and block things that normally are really fast. It's like, man, that's hard to see, so let me just block it like this. Let me tap just in case it does come out. In this scenario, goodbye. Because this move, this string, the second hit of that is just as fast as the low hook follow-up. It's actually ridiculous. The same in this situation. If someone tells you, oh, just fuzzy that, or just make the read, good luck. Because you're reacting to something, you are being told to react to something. And it goes from, okay, so 22 frames, okay, so it's a little bit faster, but I can kind of, you know, try and fuzzy that, versus I have to guess. And because this option is here, you will always have to guess, versus this. Alright? And that's what makes this variation, that's what makes the dash cancel so good in custom moves. That, and it's also a one slot move. See, custom moves in this game are assigned slot values, and moves generally have 1 or 2 slots depending on their use. Well, dash cancel is a very versatile move, but is only given 1 slot, meaning you can combine dash cancel with things like low hook and air straight buzzsaw, which is basically this, but not diagonal. And it's really good. Alright, and I think with that, we are about done. Thanks everybody for watching. This should be up on YouTube in a few minutes. I'm just gonna shoot it straight from the console right to the channel. Alright, so if you see it there, great. Just one more thing for all of YouTube out there. We are not going to be turning off or putting on any filters for crushing blows, because I think that is the dumbest thing ever. If there's someone at YouTube looking at this in particular, how this man with these 2 hook swords picked up a man sizably bigger than him and swung him around like a rag doll and be like, yeah, that's realistic. Or watching this man travel around at speeds to where he is able to move between different like dimensions. He's able to move between different sections of time, and they're like, yeah, that's realistic violence. They're dumb. And I mean that in the nicest way that I can mean it. Anyways, that's enough of me. I'll see you guys on the channel. Peace.